Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another first-time buyer SoCal market update. I'm your host, Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. And, the topic this week is kind of interesting because I have some good news for you. And I don't always have good news. In fact, I would say in the last 3 years, it is for first-time home buyers, it has typically not been good news, right? And I do have some positive news. And it got me thinking about this idea that sometimes we get inside of our own heads and our time horizon of analysis is so short that we don't always have really a very good objective look at where we are. And, one of the things I've known throughout history is that there have always been challenges to homeownership. If it were easy, everybody would do it, and our homeownership rate would be near 100%. But it's not easy. It's just that those challenges tend to change over time. So one year it might be a lack of inventory. Another year it might be high interest rates. It might be a lack of financing ability. That's been a challenge in the past. There are always these challenges that show up, and I feel like it's our job to really help people develop strategies to overcome these challenges. Those are the people that really win and get ahead at this. So let's go ahead and take a look. I've got some good news for you, and we can have kind of a little bit of a bigger discussion about, where does this actually fit, relatively speaking, in terms of how are market conditions for first-time home buyers. So see, we've got, not sure where I'm not getting that to come up here. Let me go ahead and work to fix that. I think I've got an idea on why it is not happy. We've been having some problems lately with our screen sharing, but let me go ahead and do this. There we go. Now we've got it working for us. So first off, let's talk about prices. I actually do have some relief. If you're a first-time home buyer in the marketplace, our market is very not as seasonal as the Midwest or other areas, but it still has a very seasonal component to it. And we see kind of once we get through this October timeframe, things start looking a little bit easier. This through the end of the year is my favorite time of year for home buyers. There is less competition, and usually the market is just a little bit easier. And this year is totally shaping up to be that. We've already seen just kind of some signs that, this relentless rise in property values, at least, has kind of cooled off a little bit the last few weeks. That's pretty normal. And I think we're going to see it kind of rest, kind of steady, or maybe a slight decline for the rest of the year. If we take a look here at total monthly payment, obviously that is we are now past the $5,000 a month mark for our entry-level condo, which is 2-bedroom, 2-bath here in LA and Orange counties. And remember, this is based on 5% down, includes mortgage insurance, taxes, HOA fees. This is really kind of an all-in number, right? So if we go back here, it's based on this 550. So if you look at this, and you look at our entry-level single-family home, that too is over this 6,500 number. That's definitely a high, but it also is leveling out. We're seeing a little bit of relief also in interest rates, not a huge amount, but some people are kind of calling the top of the interest rate market. We'll have to see if that turns out to be true. If we look at our household income required, we are here at about I'd say maybe $165,000 of income for our entry-level single-family home. Again, that's based on 5% down, and $124,000 of household income with zero other debts for our entry-level condo. And, while these payment numbers look scary, where does that put us? I mean, we've had back in August, we were at 122,000 income required. Back in July, we were at 120. Back in March, we were at 116. And at this point last year, we were actually at 117. So I think when you kind of put that into perspective and given the level of inflation over the last year, I don't think this 123,682 is really a terrible number. If you look at our absorption rate, this is also some good news for buyers. When we see these numbers here in that 67% realm, that means there are a significant number of homes that are not going to immediately go under contract. There are going to be homes that are out there that do not get a flurry of offers on them. And if you are a budget conscious buyer, go after those homes, the ones that are not getting tons of activity. If you look, our total inventory is actually bucking the trend last year. We're seeing inventory actually rise, which it normally does not do this time of year. Of course, we are still way below where we were at last year, but normally this is kind of on a downward trajectory by now. Our entry-level condo market is a little bit more stable and staying pretty flat. Here is the other piece of good news. We track both an absorption rate, right, which is, you can see this number kind of sliding a little bit down, kind of gradually but steadily, meaning the market's less competitive. Our 14-day still active percent, that is also another measure of competitiveness. And in this one, higher means a less competitive market. You'll see it be kind of drifted all summer long, and then in the last month or so, it has kind of risen up with these interest rates. Again, another sign that things are a little bit easier for you if you are an entry-level home buyer. And then finally, we've got our weak supply of homes, right? Which is another little bit of good news. And this is sort of not only is our absolute inventory rising, but our relative inventory, meaning how fast are people snapping up homes. You can see here for our entry-level condo, we are now over 10 weeks. That is still not as good as it was last year, but honestly, it's way better than it was, in the spring, where at one point we're at only 5 weeks of inventory. Our entry-level single-family homes, those are rising as well, which is good news. Not quite to the same level, but if you look, that is pretty typical. Normally, those single-family homes are just a little bit more competitive than the entry-level condos. But overall, let's have a little bit of a discussion here about how do you judge when it's a good time to buy. And I always tell people, number one, more than any other market effect, is your own personal situation. What you need, what you're looking for, your income stability. These are all factors that really affect suitability for home buying and really have a much bigger effect on your experience than the overall market. Real estate is a marathon, it is not a sprint. I know that might be a little bit hard to understand in an era when we've seen recent years, where homes have gone up by 20% in a single year. That can look like a great investment. But homeownership is something that you're really in it for the long run. If you purchase a home when you're in your mid-20s, right, that means by the time you are, say, 65, even if you had a 30-year loan, it would have been paid off for 10 years already, right? So even if you say, I'm going to upgrade to an even bigger house when I'm 35 years old and have that loan for 30 years, this is really where people are accumulating that wealth. And, that really kind of evens out some of the market ups and downs, which I think is a big concern that people have. But again, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is about where you're going to end up 30, 40 years from now, not just about where you're going to end up in 2 years. And by the way, if the market grows and you make a bunch of money in your house, awesome. I am all for that. That is great. But, I also think you really want to have a strategy that's flexible where you can take advantage of that should it happen. And also say if homes just grow by an average over the next 10 years of 3 or 4%, that you're also in a great position from that as well. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. If someone or you believe you should be a homeowner, which if you're in California and watching this, the answer is probably yes to at least one of those questions, we would definitely love to hear from you. Don't hesitate to reach out to us so we can lend you our expertise. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And we'll see you again real soon.